was that our supposedly opposing forces, I'm not going to be real specific, were offered the opportunity to invade our country. Now, that'll give you an idea as to what the bad guys think Americans are worth. Consequently, both of them said there ain't no way. One of them told exactly the fact that they had run it all through computers, and due to the fact that everybody and their mother-in-law has a gun or something, and that they were looking at somewhere near 85% losses, that there was no way in the world that they would bother trying. So you take all these things into account. Yeah, there's some foreign troops here. Some of them may be being trained to go into the jungles where they live or the mountains or whatever and go and get the bad guys that have decided that that's a safe place to hide. There are a lot of ways to look at things. Usually it's a two-way street. But you have to be aware that 99% of the things that can be done now by the bad guys are going to be things of the sort where they try to scare everybody into taking some kind of stupid action. One of those stupid actions is rioting. Another one is general violence with weapons. The other one is that the military is all bad guys, which is a big lie, and you should shoot them on sight.
Well, you know what, Drake? The only way that they can justify a national emergency for their little martial law is to goad the American people into firing the first shot. Don't let them do it.
Well, that's what I understand 9/11 was all about.
Yeah.
It was simply a political action. All right, now I want everybody to get this real thoroughly. If you need backup, I got people that can do this. However, it was basically a political action, and the political action simply revolved around one simple item, and that was called the Homeland Security Act, which took a big bite out of any kind of rights and standing the American citizens have. Funny thing about that is that it came up, and it's huge. It ain't some little 25-pager. This is 2,500, 25,000. It's a humongous sort of thing. It came up within a week. I want you to think about this. A week after the event.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but the printing press don't work that good. Nobody's that I know of does.
And nobody in Congress has got brains enough to write something that big in that amount of time.
Well, the other part of it is I did some checking, and I found out the source. It is a group of a combination of lawyers, legalists, and corporations called AIPAC. These people have been outed in several different formats. I have an article here in one of the magazines that I read. It's been on the internet. These people are insidiously dirty. These are the people that come up with, suddenly, a bill is sponsored. The only trouble is that guy that sponsors it probably was a part of our education system, and probably not only doesn't have the brains, but probably doesn't have the education, and certainly doesn't have the vocabulary expertise it takes to legally write something of whatever nature it might be.
And 99.9% chance that he didn't read it.
That too. And Nancy Pelosi stated that publicly. You don't got to read it, just pass it. We'll look at it later. Yeah, right. Now we're dealing with
it later.
So it goes on and on. And people got to simply, it's part waking up and it's part education. When you wake up to the fact that something might be squirrely, you got to find out where the bushy tail's at in order to find a squirrel.
Yeah, where they're stashing the nuts.
Well, that's also part of it, but what you got to understand is that in simply dealing with the idea, you have to remember that after you wake up and you realize that something ain't right, it smells bad, it ain't right, it don't fit, whatever, then you got to look at the source. Who's doing what to who? You're going to find that the government is primarily responsible. Who's behind the government? You have corporations. You have APAC. You have lawyers. You have this. You have that.
You have the crown, which is the bar.
Well, it breaks back basically to financial control. It don't matter who makes the laws. If I control the money, I can be in charge, period. That ideology, Rockefeller, Rothschild, Bushes, I mean, there's a bunch of them. So you have to wake up and be aware that that these things are not just real. They've been happening to you, and you didn't notice it. The reason you didn't was they took that law and they added a sentence.
Sublime manipulation.
And they did not say anything. They just put the sentence in there. They changed the word in the Constitution and turned the whole thing on its head.
Yeah, and the word among to within. That's all it took.
Limitation. That's supposed to be a limitation on the federal government. Well, they don't want limitations. They want this to be quite literally and absolutely fully controlled and very limited in number and capability of society. Now, the idea is to formulate several large cities with those shipping containers. They're going to put a couple of windows in there, and you're going to get stuck in that sucker. That's their idea. The ones that ain't useful will be processed in the FEMA camps with a guillotine. Now, I don't know if they plan to grind everybody up and feed it back to us and tell us it's some kind of beef or pork or something. I have no idea about that, but I wouldn't put it past them. These people are not nice. So, anyway, that's basically all I had to say. Terry, you want to do a number on somebody?
Well, I said what I needed to say in regard to Turner, and that just really has to be nipped in the bud. Any claim that he's making to have caused any of this to happen or involved in any of it, or that anything he's doing is legitimate, is just lunacy. But there was a question in the chat a little while ago wanting to know if this was involved in any way with, let me see here, Illuminati, the good faction of the Illuminati, the Gnostic. I can't find the question now. It's way up there, et cetera, et cetera. But I need to say, no, absolutely not. What we have done is done by the people. It is done under the instructions of what Thomas Jefferson wrote, what he gave us to do. It has nothing to do with any other organization or group on the other side of the pond or here in the United States. This has to do with we the people, our founding documents, our constitutional republic the way it is supposed to be, and a return to civil authority and common law. It's taking our country back from a criminal foreign corporation that is currently posing as a government. And I've asked all you people before, stop and think, ask yourself this question: is it possible to be a citizen of a corporation? No. Is it possible for a corporation to be a government? No, it's a business. So why do you believe that a corporation, which is registered on Dun & Bradstreet, listed on Dun & Bradstreet, you can find it, you can look it up, how is it that you are obeying so-called rules and statutes and codes and executive orders and decrees coming from a corporation, a foreign one at that? And then add to that even your money system is owned by a foreign corporation, the Federal Reserve. Who owns another foreign corporation out of, was it Puerto Rico? The IRS. That is nothing but another foreign corporation, which is the collection arm of the Federal Reserve, which is about as federal as Walmart. So you need to stop and think, are you an American under American rule of law, or are you either the employee or the property of a company a business, a corporation.
Teri, I hate to interrupt you. I've got a caller that has been on the line waiting, and he's been in the chat room asking lots of questions. But he specifically, if I remember correctly, wanted to address you specifically.
All right.
And I'm going to, where did he go? There he is. I am bringing him up now. Like I said, his name is Barry, and he is from California. Barry, your mic is open, honey.
Hello, Teri.
Hello.
And Drake. I am retired Air Force, 21 years, 6 years active in the rest, reserves, and guards. I've been banned from March Reserve Base because I believe in going back to a Republican form of government, and the base commander has done this to me. Yeah, and because of that, I lost my job. I've been out of work since May.
Are you active military, or you're retired?
No, I'm retired. I did 6 years of active and 15 of reserves and guards, and I retired in 2001. And then I went back to the base and worked as a civilian contractor. But I've been banned from the base, which because of that, I got laid off and not able to work anymore, and I haven't been able to find a job since May, so I've been collecting unemployment, which I hate. But my question is, what will happen for all the stuff like that happens to military people when we go back to a Republican form of government, when we restore our country?
We also have to restore our military.
Yes.
I think you probably know it. You understand it. March is an Air Force base. I used to live out there. And the Air Force is very much under the thumb of Dick Cheney and George Bush, and I'll go ahead and state that. Not all of our American military are in support of the Constitution and the American people. Now, I will say the majority are, but not all. And we do have some very, very dark individuals in very high places within the military. Now, those people are going to have to be held accountable too, just the same as the rest of the criminals.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, two things. I would suggest that you go on the freedomreigns.us site and listen to my addressment of the troops.
Good idea.
See whether or not you can't get that onto the base through a friend or something. It gives the difference between lawful and unlawful orders, and the basic standing that each and every, and responsibility that each and every person who signed into the military gave when they gave their oath of service. And there's a big difference between being constitutional and following an unlawful order to go get Granny out of her house or whatever.
Well, the thing is, Drake, I got a letter, and they escorted me out. They got a letter taking me off the base. And
what were you doing on base?
I worked for, what I do is I issued mobility bags as they were going to Afghanistan and Iraq. This is chemical equipment. This was cold weather gear, so on and so forth. And then what happened was we had containers outside the building, and instead of putting locks, my boss made us put these metal straps. And what happened was they used me as the guinea pig. There was a guy that worked with us in our company, and he got fired, and he came back on the base, and he was trying to steal out of the containers because he got fired for selling military equipment off the base. First of all.
Okay. Contraband.
And then what was happening, I was having money problems, I had car problems, so I would sleep at work. And so he banned me for sleeping at work. He banned me for allowing equipment being stolen out of the container when me and other coworkers are saying, hey, look, we got to put locks. And that boss said, no, you put those straps, period.